long time with his disciples, travelling along, doing some pretty amazing things. Luke's Gospel, which we're in over the next 5 weeks, has shown us some amazing things that the disciples saw. Jesus brought a miraculous catch of loads and loads of fish. Ah, fish! Thank you. He'd also made a leper clean. Hand sanitizer. Remember to take that, boys and girls. Keep your hands clean. He'd also healed a paralysed man who was lying on a mat. A mat. There we go. Thank you. He'd healed a paralysed man. Oh, that's enough. Thank you for that. He'd healed a man's hand. He'd healed a sick servant. He'd raised a widow's son from the dead. They'd seen him calm a storm. Oh, God. Thank you. That's enough. Thank you. That was a life jacket. He'd also healed a man with demons. He'd raised Jairus' daughter to life. He'd healed a sick woman. He'd fed 5,000 people. He'd healed a boy. Healed someone's bad back. Healed a man with dropsy. Healed 10 men with lepers. Healed a blind man. And many, many more. Whew. He had done all these things to prove that Jesus was the King. All this evidence stacked up high to show that Jesus definitely was God's promised King. And Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. He'd said that he was coming to die. But as he came to Jerusalem, loads and loads of people realised this. And they'd heard about all the amazing things he'd done. So they got so excited. Now Jesus, he came in on a donkey, because that's what the Bible promised would happen. Oh, this isn't even a donkey. It's a camel. Well, thank you for that. Jesus came on a donkey, and when he was coming near, they took off their coats and put it on the ground. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Enough. They were shouting and singing. They started saying things like, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. May there be peace and glory in the highest heaven." They were shouting and singing and getting excited because the King was here. The King was here. They were so excited. But while there were loads and loads of people who were really excited about the King, there were some really, really grumpy people. The Pharisees. Look how grumpy they were. They wanted the disciples to stop singing these things. They didn't want the people to be happy because they didn't think that Jesus was King. So Jesus says something amazing to them. He says, if the disciples stay quiet, even the stones will cry out. Even the stones will cry out to Jesus because nature knows that Jesus is the King. Imagine that, a stone singing to Jesus. That is incredible. So we have a choice. If we think Jesus is the King, then we should join the disciples and all the crowds in praising Jesus, the promised King. If we think he's King, we can't not praise him. We have to praise Jesus the King. He's so amazing. Remember all those miracles we've seen. All those ones that the Bible tells us about. If we see all those things, we need to praise Jesus.